So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Rob, for the rest of the presentation.
Great, thanks, Perry. Of course, we start with the safe harbor statement. We'll make some forward-looking statements about Extend today. We will not contact you to update those as they change. It's a fairly fluid product, and so please get your latest information from Workday as time changes, and make any purchasing decisions based on what Extend's capabilities are at the time of your purchase. So Intecrowd is a Workday services partner. We're a boutique partner in that all we do and focus on is Workday services. So we have a number of 150 plus consultants that are remote all over the world with lots of experience, more than 4 years on average, and more than 5 certifications each on average. 30 product leads, which are the certified best of the best by Workday. And we work on lots of different projects. Some of our focus areas include things like AMS, which is post-production support, and being able to take care of whatever you need after go live. Phase X deployments, additional modules like payroll or recruiting, learning, financials, whatever you additional deployments might be necessary. We're happy to help with those. Integrations was a founding area of our practice and continues to be a strength today. We worked on lots of different integrations, lots of different customers, and lots of different vendors. Workday Extend, well, its general availability was less than a year ago. We've been working with it for over 3 years in early access and developer programs. And so in order to have our skills ready to help and support you and do the things that you need it to do. So we're happy to help in any of those areas. I'm Rob Polocz. I'm the CTO and CIO of Intecrowd. I am a Workday product lead for both integrations and Extend. I've been in the Workday ecosystem for a decade now, working on more than 60 projects and 1,000 integrations and lots of different customers. So excited to spend some time with you today talking about Extend. So we'll talk about the value proposition of what is Extend and how does it work and what are some use cases, what are some other people doing with it. Maybe that'll incite some ideas of what you might be able to do with it. And then we can talk about some next steps and what does an Extend project look like. So Extend gives us the ability to customize, but still have the power of one within Workday. We can create custom apps or applications in Workday to solve your specific business needs. It's a toolbox that allows us to build apps, not just a point solution that says, here's what it does, but rather it's a set of capabilities that allows us to create something that works for you. Those Extend apps are peers to the Workday delivered apps like payroll or recruiting. They might be smaller than those, but they have all those capabilities and connections to the rest of the system, being in the system, not to bolt on separate from it. So that makes them upgrade safe. It's part of actually the same pipeline code deployment process with all the rest of the Workday apps, and it uses the same tools as all the rest of the Workday apps. So it's not something separate built outside of the system that may break with an upgrade. It gives a lot of extensibility. It's, as I said, it's a bunch of building blocks that we can create things with. You need a license for it. It's a separate SKU that Workday licenses, but that license doesn't limit the number of apps. It's a usage-based license, depending on data usage and a annual subscription. So the ROI of having Extend comes from the combined ROI of all the apps that you use to create with Extend. And in addition to apps that you create or we help you create, then there's free apps that are on community that you can download and install and get an extra boost of capability as well. And that library continues to grow. The flexibility that Extend offers, though, is picking the right tools out of the tool belt to make a solution that works for you. It's not that you have to use all the tools every time or you have to do it in this way. It's a series of development tools that allow us to pick what we want and to make apps of all different types and sorts. So it might be an application with a user interface. Just you're working in Workday instead of a set of screens and you don't know that you're an Extend app, you're just in Workday, but it happens to be custom pages that we created with you and for you. Maybe it's custom business processes that have a flow and a process where the data can move through and be approved and denied and notified and all the different aspects there. But it's a new custom business process, not one that's Workday has already delivered. or maybe it's what we call a headless app, or an app that doesn't have a screen to it, but rather it's just a place to store data and capture data, maybe pulling in from another system or from Internet of Things, and then being able to report on it and integrate with it. All that is included and comes together with Workday's Power of One. And it's, as I said before, it's not separate, but it's that full integration. It's using the actual Workday tools that the Workday developers use to build Workday. And so it's the same native look and feel. It's the same widgets that are used in the user interface, and it's inside Workday. So the app objects are also available. Those are custom objects that we can create. I'll talk more about those in a minute, but it's a part of Workday reporting and integrations as peers right alongside Worker or any of the other business objects. We talked about upgrade safe, and the apps are deployed to the tenant using the same pipeline as other Workday changes. So it all rolls out and is managed there as part of Workday deployments. So what can you do with it? Well, maybe the question is, what can't you do with Workday today that you want or need to? Maybe that's minor customizations of just showing some data from an external system within Workday, or having a screen to look at something and pull that data in and display it at a key time. Maybe it's a simplified user interface for a complex task. We have a couple of customers that have had processes where you had multiple screens with lots of different fields on a different screen, allowing something like change job or submit supplier invoice requisition to be able to streamline that for customers that do that task a lot, but have a person doing that maybe doesn't need to have all that flexibility, but just let's make it so that way they put all the company defaults in most of the fields, and they can just pick the 4 or 5, 10 fields that they need, and have a streamlined process for that. All the way to major customizations, full complex applications with screens and integrations with all sorts of different things, like integrating with a Tesla and managing the vehicle fleet. Not everything's going to be at that scope, but all sorts of things are possible with Extend. So what's included, and these are the different building blocks that are part of Workday Extend from the user interface and user experience perspective. Pages, the ability to have and create new pages that are within Workday, not linked to separate outside pages, but actual pages in Workday, and be able to use the library of predefined user interface elements that are consistent with the rest of the Workday look and feel. Tasks, we can create custom tasks, much like you might search for maintain names or update contact information in the search bar. Well, you can search for the vehicle fleet management task, or the Fitbit integration task, or custom tasks that we might make for you for your particular needs. Business objects in the application objects is where we can create custom objects. Again, peers to Worker and other first-class business objects in Workday. These are also first-class objects, but we get to customize them. We get to define them. We get to link them to each other. We can link them to Worker and other objects and have it be part of the data schema, but specifically in your tenant. And even include attachments of being able to specify and upload documents that get attached as part of those objects. As far as custom logic, the business processes, we can create new business processes and use all those different aspects of those, like tasks and approvals and notifications, but now have custom ones. And then orchestrations is a way, kind of a workflow system that allows us to coordinate across different systems and applications within business processes and different tasks, and kind of build a complex orchestrated workflow there. All of those pieces are secured by Workday's flexible and powerful security, and we have the ability to create custom security domains as part of Extend, which allows us to have that granular security to the point of specifying who gets to access what and see what and do what, just like we do everywhere else in Workday. In addition to those tool sets, we included with Workday Extend is developer site access, which you can see a screenshot there on the upper right, which has all the documentation and tutorials about how to build with Extend and what it can do. There's developer tool plugins for the integrated development environment, IntelliJ, and a command line client to be able to access and interact with the Workday Extend environment. You got a dedicated development tenant, so a separate tenant that's a special tenant for Workday Extend development, and that's where you can do the application development and a bit of the unit testing. App management, there's a tool called App Hub, which is what we use to deploy the apps to different tenants. And then there's a new contact, a new support role that you'd have with Workday, a developer support contact. This would be like the name support contact that you'd have for Workday overall, but this one is specific to who's the developer support contact for Extend. That's the role that interacts with Workday on the Extend items. So what can you do with it? Well, some real world cases. For instance, we have a customer who is a poultry processor, and they want their employees to be able to buy their product, chicken, at a discounted rate and deduct it from their paycheck. And so we built them an interface where that order can be placed inside Workday and for that worker, and then it gets updated for their payroll and deducted from their payroll based on what they order. And then it produces the forms and reports in order to send to fulfillment. So that way, the day they show up, when they get their paycheck, they get their chicken too. Similarly, issuing supplies in manufacturing for personal protective equipment. Somebody comes up to a kiosk or to a service desk and says, oh, I need 2 pair of gloves and I need a face mask and a smock maybe. They can track the issuance of that. And in this particular case, we had it so that way the customer would come up with their badge and scan it in the card reader, and Extend would use that to identify who was the person that was requesting those supplies. And then they could put in the supply order. And we also had logic in there where they were given an allocation of they could have so many of this item and so many of that item each month. And if they went over that allocation, then we would deduct it from their payroll. So some additional custom logic that was there that provided some additional flexibility and power for them. Badges, not the same kind of badges, a different kind of think about recognition badges that go on a user profile. So feedback from management to give them a badge of where they attended an event or made a big accomplishment, or feedback from peers perhaps. We've seen it where it's badges or points and different ways of expressing the feedback and recognizing people. Couple of scenarios there at the bottom left about simplifying business processes, which I kind of spoke about earlier. Some other ideas on the right. There's all sorts of apps in the catalog. So lots of different ideas and possibilities for what you can do with Extend. I'm going to pause from the slides for a minute and show you another quick video, which is our Office Extender hackathon submission, also from last year, but particularly applicable in this time, but also gives you, this is all, you'll see these screens in this example, and it's all within Workday. So it stitched together in a video so you can kind of see the different roles that are playing, but this is all happening within Workday, and it gives you ideas of some of the breadth and scope of what's possible, and maybe will incite some ideas in you of what you might want to do in your organization. So we'll just take a few minutes and watch this.
First, your company wants to get workers back into the office, but the workers need to be able to feel safe and be safe in the office. Also, what if, as your company grows, you could increase your headcount without having to acquire more office space by rotating your workers in a controlled manner between working from home and the office? So the solution we've built is called Workday Office Extender by Intecrowd. And you can use this to coordinate rotating employees into and out of the office. Also, after a worker has used a particular workspace, it's flagged for the cleaning crew that it needs to have a deep clean, and it will not become available for other workers to book until the cleaning crew has indicated that that cube has been cleaned. And then there is a customizable approval business process. So with that, we're going to jump into our demo.
So I'm going back to work and I want to reserve a desk for a few days. Let's use the new Office Extend app. First, I'm going to pick the range of dates that I want to reserve for. Next, I will go to Staff Map to see the available spaces. Staff Map is an application that shows me a floor map and the available spaces I can choose from. I can pick between desks, offices, and conference rooms. Note that some of the spaces are marked with an X. This shows that certain spaces are unavailable to maintain proper spacing according to CDC guidelines. Let's see, Desk 7 looks good. When I click on Desk 7, it will take me back to the Office Extend app, where I can confirm the details of my reservation. When I click on the OK button, we can see that my booking for Desk 7 now shows up on Staff Map. Now let's see if I can book a conference room. So I'm back in Staff Map, and I'm going to try to reserve conference room 1. I'll confirm my details and hit the OK button. As you can see, my space for conference room 1 has been reserved. When I look at the business processes, as you can see, because I tried to book a conference room or an office, and because conference rooms and offices or reservations exceeding 5 days require approval, you can see that the business process is sitting with Joy Banks, Logan's manager, for approval.
I'm trying to reserve my favorite conference room for a whole week. Sorry, Logan, I'm going to get it.
Whereas the reservation I made for Desk 7, you can see, was auto-approved.
Teresa Serrano is not feeling so well today, so she would like to cancel her reservation. She goes to My Reservations, hits the button, cancel for the reservation, and it's done. So after a week later, Teresa Serrano would like to go to the office again, but she stopped at the health check station.
Well, we just got to check your temperature. So let me get that from you there. Well, it's saying that you've got a fever. So we'd ask that you return home, take care of yourself. Meantime, I'll make sure that your reservation for your desk, which was approved, we'll get that canceled for you since you won't be able to come into work today. And there we go. Thanks, Teresa. Hope you get better soon.
Yeah, I'm feeling great today. The health check system let me in the office. Now I just gotta scan my workspace. Logging in a work day. Wow, that was a hard day of work. I'm heading home. Working from home tomorrow, so I better check out my workspace so they can keep it clean.
All right, so that's Office Extender, and another example of some of our what you can do with Workday Extend and all sorts of different capabilities and possibilities there with our team of certified consultants who have done lots of great work with Extend. So what does an Extend project look like? Well, first, before the project, there's a use case development and approval process to go through. And so having a business case for the app and the return on investment for that is particularly important for the first app. but also there's a scope and a document to fill out for Workday in order to get approval. Workday wants to validate that what you're doing is going to work, and also that it's not already on their roadmap or not something that you can already do with your license. They don't want you to spend money for something that it can already do. So they want to check those things and approve those. But it does take some analysis in order to fill that out to the depth. There's more than a couple sentences of here's what I want to do. It takes some design elements in order to make sure that you've got enough detail on that. So that's something that has to get submitted, and then you can get your Extend license with an approved app. We can connect you with Workday Extend Sales if you want. You can contact your CSM or account executive, and then you need to work with a partner. We welcome the opportunity to be the one that you choose to work with to help you with your Workday Extend apps. And you have the ability to do some of the development in-house, or to have us do all of the development, depending on the technical capabilities of your organization and your interests. The design part of an Extend project is a little bit more involved. It's a little different scope than integrations, where you have some more guardrails of we're just trying to connect these two systems. In this case, we have kind of an open canvas, and so we use the design process to try to drive out those unknowns by creating wireframes of what are the different screens going to look like, and how are they going to interact, and what are the different business processes and the different steps that are going to take in as part of those. We had a customer that we worked with where when we got to system testing of the app, we said, so how's it going? Well, how's it look to you? And they're like, well, exactly like you told us it was going to look. You know, it works just fine, just like we knew it would. And we counted that as a big win, because in the design process, we had gone through the screens in order to help identify what was it going to look like and how is it going to work. And they had gained an understanding of that. It's a little bit more time up front, but it brings about a better result, and making sure that we drive out some of those unknowns and figure out what it looks like without having to build the whole application and then make changes later. There's a deep dive on all these different artifacts and process in the design part of an Extend project available from a webinar we did last year as well. Then you get into build and unit tests. We like an iterative process, an agile process, where we build part of the functionality, and then every week or two we do a demo of that and show you what the progress is, and then you get your feedback, and you know, that's not quite what I was looking for, or how is that going to work there, and then we go work on those feedback as well as the next set of functionality, and demo again, and then work and demo, and so people know how it's turning out as it's turning out, instead of a big surprise or mystery as we get to testing. Speaking of testing, participation of those end users is key, so that way we're building an app that's supposed to work for the business. It's not just a science fair project. So we want those users to be involved and help test it to get their feedback. And we found that even with the best of the designs by the leadership team and the HR team, the users sometimes have some good suggestions of, hey, well, if you moved it over here, then I can save mouse movement, or one less click, or something. And in a case like the PPE service desk on the factory floor, that time savings is real and adds up. And then it's deployed using the Workday pipeline. So next steps, well, how do we get started? Let's talk about what are your use cases? What are your ideas? How can we help? Sometimes a brainstorming session, but with a brainstorming session with guidelines can be really helpful, because we have the background of working with the applications and what's capable and possible, and can help guide that conversation in a way to produce a result that's going to be successful around the use case and the solution. So happy to have those conversations, continue to learn more, and look at other webinars that we've done, or Workday's website, and get involved, and happy to talk to you about it further. So with that, let's open it up. We've got a few minutes left for questions and answers, please.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob. I'd just like to remind everybody of the Q&A button down there at the bottom. Rob, the first question that we have is, what does Extend cost?
Yeah, so it's a license from Workday. The first part is the SKU from Workday. That's theirs to quote and to sell, so I won't steal their thunder, but realize it's an annual subscription, and part of it includes usage, and the usage-based component of that is meant to cover kind of your first couple of apps, and then, but as you get into using, say having 5 or 10 apps, maybe you're using more data, and there's some extra charges that go with that there. Each app to build is going to be different depending on its requirements, and we're happy to have that conversation and scope that with you. We offer a fixed price scoping session or bucket of hours, which allows us to dig in, and the output of that engagement is determining the scope very clearly about the app, but also the submission of that form for approval of your use case with Workday with the appropriate level of detail and design elements that form needs. So happy to engage and talk about that with each of you.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob. We do have another question. I have an idea for something, but I don't know if it will work. How can I find out?
Give me a call. Let's talk. Happy to take that call and just visit with you for a few minutes, and let's have a little brainstorming session and talk it through and see where we go from there.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob. We're going to wrap it up. If you do have any other questions, we have Rob's number and email up there, along with Mike Chrisman's. Both you can get in contact with, and we can get those conversations started. This meeting was recorded, and we'll make sure that it gets out to everybody. Other than that, thank you for being here today, and hope you have a wonderful day. Appreciate it.